Hi, my name is Jen Rulon, and you may know me as Coach Jen. After knocking out 15 Ironman Triathlons, I am an everyday, healthy human just like you. In this podcast, we will discuss how to metamorphosize into an everyday, healthy human through healthy physical habits and mindsets, as well as authentic living. Let's transform together in this journey called life and become the best, everyday, healthy human ever. Hello, and welcome to the Everyday Healthy Human podcast. My name is Jen Rulon, and you may know me as Coach Jen Rulon. And today's guest, we have Sara Lucero Calhoun. And Sara and I have known each other for a little bit over 6 years. We would see each other at some events in San Antonio, and then she started her triathlon Ironman journey. We started following each other on the gram, right? And I always knew Sara was very into fitness, but then as I started talking to her more and more, I didn't really realize how into fitness she was, because this woman has done 4 Boston marathons. She has competed in 8 fitness competitions. She has done 5 Ironman triathlons, along with 5 half Ironman triathlons. And then just this year, Sara qualified for the daddy of them all, the Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. And I'm super stoked for her. And I knew she would get there. I just knew that she had to be patient. So welcome, Sara, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Jen. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you so much for the invitation to come on to the show. I love that you're starting a podcast. It's super exciting because I think a lot of people that follow you on social media probably don't get enough. And when you take your little internet hiatus that you do sometimes, you're like, I'll be gone for the weekend. I do. I'm like, where's she going? Okay. So anyway, glad to be here. And I'm sure a lot of people will be glad to be tuning into the podcast.
Thank you. So as I told you a little bit about the Everyday Healthy Human podcast, we all have started somewhere, right? A lot of people see the tip of the iceberg, qualifying for Kona, going to Boston, like all of that.
Like with you, I think your fitness journey has been a pretty long one and evolved and developed. And I think I've always enjoyed running and I've enjoyed sports. I wasn't really good at the group sports, but I liked individual sports, and running was running, and I loved swimming too. So I ran through college a little bit as an intramural athlete. But as I got into my 20s and started working professionally, I was a newscaster for 26 years. I started to train and continue training. And I saw that Oprah Winfrey did her first marathon. That was in the early 90s. And that Oprah was big back then. So I was like, you know what? If Oprah can do a marathon, heck, I can do a marathon too. Well, I did a marathon in San Antonio. I think it was 1993 was my first one. Didn't know how to train. I didn't know what I was doing. I ran about 5 miles a day for 4 days a week. Then once on the weekend, I would do a long run, and it would get a little longer and a little longer. So that's kind of how I trained. And that marathon hurt. It was a painful one.
Right.
And I was a one and done. And I said, I'm glad I've done it. We'll never do it again. I've reached the pinnacle. But anyway, then I ended up a couple years later, I was in Chicago. I was like, this seems like a really nice marathon here. I'm going to try to do this one. So I trained for that one, and I did that one too and loved it. But still, I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of did the marathon, trained a little here, trained there, didn't have any sort of coaching or anything, but got it done. And I just fell in love with running. It made you feel so good. And I did that for a long time until I hit my 30s, and the body said, you can't run every day, Sara. Your joints hurt. It hurts. Mm-hmm. So Amen. Then I started cross training, and I got into triathlons, and I thought, I'm just going to do a half Ironman. Well, why not? I'll just, I swam in high school. I'm already running. I'll pick up biking. And I started training for my first half Ironman after I did like the MS 150. I did, like in 1998 or at some point I did the MS 150. And then trained for my first half Ironman in 2010. I did Ironman Galveston, the half one. And then I ended up doing that same year. I did Ironman out in Texas in Austin. Remember they had a 70.3 in Austin?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
In 2010. And then I was going to go for the full and do the first Ironman Texas in 2011. But then I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter. So I was like, I think I'm just going to have to put this off for a while. So I couldn't really train, and I got into the marathon training again I could do. So I thought, well, I think I'm going to try to qualify for Boston. That seems like a really good, goal. So I did that. I ended up getting a trainer. I got a coach, somebody who actually knew what they were doing when they were running. And he helped me get fast enough to qualify for Boston. So I did that with him.
A mutual friend of ours, right?
A mutual friend, Edgar, who is a well-known San Antonio running coach, Edgar Gonzalez. And so then he helped me for quite a few years. He was my coach, probably for almost 10 years, to just go back to train for Boston. Because I ended up going to Boston 4 times. And in that time, though, I did end up having 4 children. And I decided after the 4th one, running is not going to cut it. I just got to cross train because, there's something going on with my body. You hit your 40s and like the muscles go away and you're just like, ooh, I'm a big block. So then I got into bodybuilding and the bodybuilding competitions, and I saw the women that had all the muscles in the gym. And I'm like, well, I need to do what they're doing. And they were doing the fitness competitions. So I got into that. Got down to like 8% body fat. I was like, wow, this is incredible. This is so fun. So what I ended up doing is I did compete in bodybuilding, but I couldn't give up my running. I love endurance. I'm an endurance junkie, just like you. So for about half the year, I would train for marathon, and about a little more than half the year, maybe 7 months, I would do bodybuilding, like just hard. And my coach would not let me run. That bodybuilding coach that I had, beautiful friend of mine today, Helen, she would forbid me from running because, you can't build muscle if you're running it off. Needless to say, I never got really huge as a bodybuilder, but I got tone, and I really got to where I wanted to be with my body composition. I was really happy. I ended up becoming getting my pro card as a natural bodybuilder.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice. You don't get to go to many places and eat different foods. It's a lot of packaged food that you make yourself, a lot of meal prepping and planning. One of the biggest pieces of advice that somebody gave me and that I follow was huge. Like if you have a day where you have an hour, maybe 45 minutes, you can get a workout in, or you can meal prep for the next 3 days. Meal prep for the next 3 days. Take that time to meal prep instead of working out, because then you can control your food for the next 3 days instead of like you work out for 45 or an hour, then you're starving, you have no food, and then you just eat like a sandwich and 2 bags of Doritos, which is what I used to eat on my way to work. So I can go on and on and on. I ended up, I love endurance. So I got back into triathlons, and I said, I had my goal back in 2010 to do a full Ironman. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to pick an Ironman, something that's warm and flat and easy. Is that funny? I want to pick an easy Ironman, and I'm going to go for it. I was with the coach I had at the time. She was laughing at me. She's like, there's not an easy. I mean, there is a course that is good with your strengths, but it's not easy. I picked my first one was Cozumel in 2019. So right before COVID. Yeah, is what I went to Cozumel. And I started doing a plan on Training Peaks. So I followed this plan. I bought it on Training Peaks and it just started training myself. But 10 weeks out from the full Ironman, I thought, I have only been on the bike for like 60 miles. And I don't think that if I'm on the bike for another hour, I'm going to even get close to 100. I was really nervous. And I'm like, I've got to have somebody help me do this because I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm following this plan, but it's not working. So I ended up hiring a coach back then. And she helped me get to the starting line, and and her training helped me get to the finish line at Cozumel. And I thought that was going to be it for me. I said, I'm done. I'm so happy. I'm just here. I've done it. Well, guess what? As you probably can imagine, like 2 days later, you're like signing up for another one.
That's right.
After my second Ironman, which I ended up finishing like 2 hours faster, 2.5 hours faster than my first one, I was like, wow, hey, I might be kind of good at this, I think. I'm going to just try to go for Kona. So
Yeah, I remember reaching out to you because you podium at one of your races. And I remember telling you, I'm like, you have to go to roll down. Like, you have to go get your award and then you might get that spot. And you're like, really? I'm like, yes, go. And I was on Instagram. I was like, go, go, go. And when you told me you didn't get it, I was like, no, but I just knew that you would.
First 4 girls went and I was number 5. And so I didn't get to go.
Five,
So I was
that's
like,
what I thought. Yeah.
I was so close. First of all, I had knee surgery. I'm super injured. I really thought this year was going to be a wash because I wasn't going to be able to be competitive. And Ironman ended up opening so many more slots for women, having women only race in Kona and the men only race in Nice. So they made a lot more room for women in Kona. And so I raced at Ironman Texas this year in April, and I ended up getting a spot. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
That was incredible. I know. I saw that you qualified. I was like, she did it. That just made me so happy. I mean, and it's interesting too. I mean, we could talk about the elephant in the room about women, the whole split of Ironman Kona, the men and the women. And I think as I look back in my journey, like, I think at that time I would have been upset, because I would want to race with, my partner at the time and all that stuff. Right.
Oh, yeah.
But now I see it, and now I see how it really opens up so many more opportunities for women to do Kona. And that to me is very exciting.
It's so amazing.
It's pretty powerful. Yeah. And I will tell you flat out, it was one of the hardest races I've ever done.
Really?
It will chew you up and spit you out numerous times, but when you cross that finish line, nobody could take that away from you. It's the best feeling in the world.
This year I thought 2023 was going to be a throwaway year only because I was injured and I wasn't going to be able to compete. And it's like, well, I might as well make this year. If it's going to be my last year, I want it to be memorable and stand for something. So I accepted the opportunity of becoming an Ironman Foundation ambassador or athlete. So
that's right. Yep.
I'll do that. And I'll dedicate this year, not just, it's not going to be about me making a podium or me making whatever. It's going to be about me raising awareness about the benefits of sports with children and what Ironman Foundation does for kids and disadvantaged folks all around the world, not just in the United States. They do bike distributions. They do backpacks with school supplies for kids. They do adaptive sports programs, group swim lessons. They have programs for veterans. They do a lot of really, really great stuff. So anyway, that's what's been keeping me really busy this year. Just raising awareness and trying to raise money for that. But, I get to go to Kona too, and I'm so excited. I got to qualify. So this year is it's like a double whammy, but a good one.
It is a double whammy. And we'll definitely put that link if you guys want to donate, to Sara's foundation. And I have to do that with you and April. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I was like, I need to donate, because I get it, I get how important that is to build that for the kids in the Ironman Foundation. So the one question I do have to ask you is, how can you apply the mindset of an athlete to improve your everyday healthy human? Like, how does your mindset apply to your everyday life, and how do you thrive from that athlete mindset?
I think, it's always important to set a goal and reach that goal day by day, little by little. Sometimes you're going to take one step forward and 2 steps back. Some days you'll take 2 steps forward and one. It's a back and forth. It's not a direct route from here to there. You're going to have, as we talked earlier, setbacks and challenges and obstacles that you just think are going to prevent you from getting where you want to be. You're going to think it's the end. It's the end. You're not going to make it. But show up every day, even when you don't want to. Just show up and do it. And trust your training.
Yes, trust the coach.
The coach, whether it's training for a sport or reaching a goal at work or at school. Trust the process, trust your coach, and you will get there.
I love that. Is there a specific moment in your life that sparked that change or that metamorphosis, other than Oprah doing a marathon? Like, throughout all your like the fitness competitions, the Boston Marathon, the Ironman, was there a specific like aha moment that you were like transformed into a different version of you?
Well, I just think, in the Ironman, it was finishing my second Ironman when I was able to finish like over 2 hours faster than my very first one. And I finished it. I was able to still walk and I was okay. And I was like, wow, this is like, I can do this. And it's not just going to kill me to do this. And I can do it again. And this is great. So I think that was kind of an aha moment for me when I realized, hey, I'm pretty decent at these. I'm going to try it again and set a bigger goal.
Yeah. And you're right. Like going back to those goals and getting into those habits, because we all talk about habits, like, like you said, you got a couple phone calls, you got the podcast, and then you got to go swim. Even though you did your hair and your makeup, you still have to go in and swim, and
maybe an hour more than I'm going to get in the water.
Right. Exactly. Is there something that you would like to share about your fitness journey? Like, is there like one tip that you could think about that maybe could help somebody in their own fitness journey, whether they're starting to walk 10,000 steps a day or they're starting to they want to do a 5K or their first marathon?
I think sometimes it seems daunting or overwhelming to think, oh, I'll never get to that point at all. But I think just to make small changes, a little bit at a time. And then before you know it, you'll have made a whole bunch of changes that really will change your whole life. So, just doing things little by little, making small changes in your diet, adding a little bit of activity that you didn't do yesterday throughout your days. And that makes a huge difference. Really, it's simple pieces of advice, but it makes all the difference.
Huge difference. Okay. Speaking of nutrition, what's your go-to cheat meal?
My go-to cheat meal. Since I'm doing Ironman now, I've not been that great about my nutrition, but I do. Let me see on my cheat meal. Here lately, I love like a creamy pasta with whatever, fish or chicken, whatever, but some sort of an Alfredo pasta. My daughter makes these great pastas with cream and cheese, and I don't know what she puts in them, but they're so good. And so I allow myself to have that because I know that, like, for example, the next day I'm going to be on a 5-hour bike ride or 3-hour ride or something.
Body needs that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I eat bread with olive oil and salt and pepper at the restaurant. I love like good bread with olive oil and salt and pepper. Oh, I love that so much. So that's really like a big just change from what I didn't used to eat before. and I enjoy.
And that's just, people will ask me too, like, do you eat bread? I'm like, yeah, I eat bread. I have a half a bagel like almost every day. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah. And I slather it on with peanut butter and I love it. One more question. What is one final thought that you could give the listeners to about how to start their own transformation and become their own beautiful butterfly, other than goals and habits?
I think, what, if you don't really know, what you want to go for, but you want to change, you want to do something, I think you just have to have that mentality, do something 21 times, 21 days, and then it becomes a habit. Just do something that you really, do I want to get up an extra 30 minutes early to get that short workout in? Do that 21 times, and then before you know it, it's going to be a habit. It's going to be something that you can't live without and that you actually look forward to. If you're looking to change your body composition, if you're looking to have, better cardiovascular endurance or whatever it is, do whatever for 21 times. And then you're going to begin to feel that it's like something that you crave and you look forward to.
And where can listeners find you online?
Well, I'm at on Instagram on Sara Lucero Fitness, and Facebook I'm at the Sara Lucero. I do have a Twitter, which is Sara Lucero, but I don't really get on there too much. So mostly Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. And I did see your website, and I will share all of that. And then I'll also get the link from you so people can donate to the Ironman Foundation.
Yes, please. That would be so wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being one of my first guests on the Everyday Healthy Human podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing your journey for the rest of this year, and can't wait to cheer you from afar
Thank you. You've been so awesome. You're always like in my corner. And I know you're like that with all of your athletes.
Always.
That you're just sending little messages of inspiration. So I really appreciate that. That means a lot.
Always. Well, thank you, and we'll see y'all soon. Pura vida. Ciao.
Yeah.